Greetings, I am Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, today with character creation. Today with Pendragon, tabletop RPG. So I only have the core rulebook to understand how characters are created because the starter set uh, did not feature the character creation part of it. So you will be a knight, and you'll be in search of glory and maintaining your honor as you go on quests and adventures in the time of King Arthur. Um, Technically, the game starts at about the right before um, King Arthur's time really gets started as the boy who pulls the sword from the stone, and then eventually it'll get to the point where he actually forms the round table. So starting out with your character, it will be the year 508, which is about a year, 2 years before the Boy King period. They have the whole chronology, a little chronology summary in the book early on to show where exactly that is time wise. You'll be a Cymric knight, which means you'll have extra constitution. Um, you'll be from Salisbury County, residing at the Castle at the Rock in the town of Sarum. And you'll be serving Lord Robert, future Count of Salisbury, still boy, not ready to be Count just yet. With other supplements, it's possible to be from other places, I would imagine. Um, you'll be either a Christian or a pagan. There are more Christians than pagans there, so it's like a. If you decide to leave it up to chance, it's a 1 in 6 possibility. You'll be the heir of a vassal knight, which will then you'll potentially inherit their estate. Your culture again will be Cymric, so uh, it's the native culture descending from the Trojans and Celts coming together. And Salisbury is located in South Logris County. There's South Logris. All right. So you'll go by Sir or Dame. Yes, you can be a female knight. You'll have your name. You'll have your religion, your current home, your liege lord. All that figured out. Actually, getting into the stats. Before we get into stats, let's get into the game system itself. Checks are going to be done on a d20. Let's say you have. Let's say you're checking against a 13. Okay, I rolled an 8. Rolling under the stat is a success. Rolling the exact number is a critical success. And you will mark a check on your sheet. Like, let's say it was for rolling. You'll mark the check there. And during the winter phase, there's potential to get better at that. If you roll over, it's a failure. If you roll exactly a 20, and it's still possible for you to fail on a 20, it'll be a fumble. Unless you actually have a skill high enough that it doesn't matter to you. Anyway, there'll be modifiers and other stuff. Apparently, from what someone's been telling me, this is a different take on the game system. It used to be percentile. Interesting. But yeah, it'll have your little origin stuff, and then we'll get into the actual stats. Size, your height and weight. It also helps with resisting being knocked down. Dexterity, uh, your agility and your ability to be nimble. Allows you to maintain standing, being on your horse, weapon skills, throwing, stuff like that. Strength is just raw physical power, force, pressure, damage, move rate. Constitution, your health and vitality, ability to take wounds and heal, and maintain consciousness. And finally, appeal, your charm, presence, attractiveness. If it's high enough, you can actually be like notable in that sense. Anyway, so there's two ways of going about it. There's constructed, where you'll take 60 points and split them between your stats, and then after that, add an additional three. You cannot have less than an 8 or greater than a 15. Alternatively, you can go random for each stat. 2d6 plus 5. So let's say size of 11, 16. So that's fairly big size. And then you'll get the plus 3 to your constitution after that. So let's say you wanted to focus on being nimble and maybe strong. You might construct like more dexterity and a reasonable amount of strength. You might go for less size as well, for whatever that helps with. Although it'll mean you'll be easier to knock down. So want to make use of that speed. Anyway, um, after you figure out your stats, depending on your appearance, you'll get certain distinctive features that'll be featured in the book. Like maybe you'll have impressive muscles or shiny hair, or your appearance won't be so good, and you'll have you know zits everywhere or whatever. You also figure out your knockdown stat is equal to your size. If you ever take more damage than your knockdown stat, you'll get knocked down. That will affect you in combat. You don't want to be knocked down in combat. Your constitution is your major wound value. If you ever take enough damage from a single attack to be greater than that value, you'll take a major wound. Taking enough damage will mean you will be knocked down and with a major wound, which is even worse. Your strength plus your size divided by 6 is your base dice for weapon damage. So let's say we went 6 plus 12 is 18, divided by 6 is 3 dice. And it's also your basic value for brawling damage. You can also do an as as a combat move. You can do an open-handed slap, and it's half that much damage. So weapons 3 dice, brawling 3 damage, open hand slap 2 damage. I think the half rounds up. I think. Constitution divided by 5 is your healing rate. You'll need to have 1 week of quiet rest for it to work. Also, if someone succeeds with first aid, that can also heal you by that much. Your strength plus dexterity divided by 2 plus 5 is your movement rate. It affects your ability to move in combat. and your ability to move overland. Of course, if you're making use of your horse, you're going to be making use of their movement rate instead. Your hit points are based on your constitution and your size. Yes, you can be small, but if you're not also tough, you're in a serious risk of dying easily. Um, Divided by 4 is your ability to remain conscious. The moment your hit points drop below your consciousness, you are unconscious. So it's entirely possible to take enough damage from one hit to be knocked down, majorly wounded, and unconscious. Okay. Um, and once you figured out all the derivative stuff, you go on to personality traits. So personality traits are featured as pairs. Together, each pair will add to a 20. The left side is all the good stuff. The right side is the not so good stuff, to the extent that it could potentially be evil. But some of it's just moral failings, really. So what'll happen with personality traits is, depending on your religion, there's Christian, pagan, Wodinic, and heathen. They will have favored traits. Things like chastity and honesty. But some are also um, lustful, is what it is. So you'll start out, if you're going with a constructed character, you'll start out with 10. Your religious ones will start out at 13. Belarus starts at 15, period. You can then change one of them to a 16, and then add 6 points between others to a max of 15. And then once you figured out everything on your left side, you'll figure everything on the right. 20 minus the left side equals the right side. You will figure your passions. Everybody starts with homage and or fealty. Love, your family, devotion to your deity, hospitality, station, and honor. Well, I think honor is its own thing, but yeah, your passions are intense beliefs, provide inspiration, potentially boosting a skill roll. And at 15 plus, it's a mandatory passion. You have to pursue that passion. But anyway, um, as a standard knight will have honor and homage to their lord at 15. Um, Love for their family, their station, hospitality at 10, and devotion to their deity at 5. A player knight from Salisbury will hate the Saxons by 5. Yes, hate is a passion for this game. If you are a mercenary knight, you'll have fealty instead of homage. But after that, you'll have another 15 points to add to passions as you see fit. Possibly take up another one. Like, what are some other passions in there? Passions. Let's see here. Might have adoration, chivalry. Yeah, there's others. But yeah, you'll figure those out, and then you'll go on to figure your skills. There is a table in the book for how your skills start out numerically. Some will just be a straight up number. Others will be based on your stats. Um, in order to become knighted, you will need to do the you'll need the following skills: brawling, charge, sword at 10. You'll also need a couple of non-weapon knightly skills: awareness, courtesy, first aid, hunting, recognize, battle, and horsemanship. The usual ones for knighthood are courtesy and horsemanship, but you can experiment with the others as well. If you are playing as a Cimric Knight, you'll also have a +3 to your charge, horsemanship, and courtesy skills. Um, you might have a family characteristic as well. If you're that goes off a table, you could potentially do a random, and if you're very, very lucky, end up gifted. But the table will provide things like uh, sprightly for your dancing skills, equestrian for your horsemanship skills, devout for your religion. If you're doing a constructed knight, you can choose one of those. One of the 20 that isn't gifted. If you have gifted, your descendants cannot automatically get gifted. They have to actually roll for it. But your skills are limited to 15 at most for their skill rating. You cannot raise a 0 ever. With the exception of uh, cultural skills and family characteristic bonus modifiers, appearance skills cannot exceed the appearance characteristic at creation. Um, Note on horsemanship skills that's it's going to limit your weapon skills fighting from the saddle. Yeah, you'll have an opportunity to add personal skills, and then you'll be on the path towards knighthood. You'll be a squire to another knight. You'll your character starts at 14, and then they could potentially. This is up to the game master to either run the squire to knighthood pipeline campaign or um, do the training and practice um, runs of 7 years, which over that course you will. Let's see here. So it's still getting used to this one. um, for each year of training, you will select one of the following: either distribute 5 points among your character skills, add 1 point to a trait or passion, maximum of 19 for a trait, maximum of 20 for a passion. Add 1 point to one of your characteristics. These will not affect your skill values, though. But you'll do that 7 times, choosing one different thing for each one. You want to get into a position where you can be knighted. But if you're not, that might make for some interesting story. Yeah. Your age will be um, uh, the setting for the campaign being run. So when you're born will be that year minus your age. The campaign. So the campaign is supposed to start in 508. So if you're um, 14 at that time, that means or 494. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure how things work um, if a campaign might actually start in a different year. I'll have to see. But yeah, you'll be considered a squire. You might end up as a household knight or a mercenary knight. There are other types of knights, but as a starting character, it's not possible right now. You are always considered the heir of a vassal knight to inherit whatever stuff they still have when you become a knight yourself. And then you'll have some starting glory. So, famous traits and passions. I believe famous is 16 plus, 16 to 20. Somewhere. But yeah, if it's that high, you'll get it 15 glory. Um, standard of living is 10 because you have an ordinary standard of living. Your appeal, 13 to 15 is a 10, 16 to 18 is a 25. The Game Master's Handbook will provide other examples, so I'll be getting that one next. You'll have some starting equipment as a squire: a helmet, a shield, a spear, a dagger, and a roundsy, kind of horse. You'll have your family name and some of their glory and their characteristic. You don't start with the holding, but at some point, you might get a manor or castle or estate. Um, the Over the course of the game, you'll have history and events. There'll be, you know, a bit of a log right there. You know, there'll be the year you were born, the year you became a squire, and all that stuff. There might be things you encounter in your time, like fighting off a bear or capturing bandits or finding an ancient relic or something to make your to affect, your story. Yeah. And I believe that's mostly it. Yeah, important dates: born, squired, knighted, and then whenever you get your spouse, if you get one, and children, you know. I think it's interesting that you could potentially have children and then they could eventually become knights as well to play the campaign long enough. And then finally, there's pursuing an ideal. Depending on your skills, um, you might become known as a chivalrous knight or a religious knight or a romantic knight. There's a courtier as well, but it's impossible to do with your starting stuff. With that, you will have your starting character. There'll probably be other personal details you'll figure out as well. And with that, you will start going on adventures or quests. What these entail, not sure, but it's the King Arthur setting, so you can kind of figure it out from there. I s- there's a there's a game master rule book, so I'm gonna have to pick that up next. So why Pendragon? It's just an interesting approach. We've got not really a whole lot in the way of fantasy. I guess Merlin could kind of count. If I remember correctly, does Morgan Le Fay also have like magical powers too? Uh, um, yeah, there's maybe a bit of that mystical in there, but it's not overwhelmingly magical super sorcerers and dragons and shit. It's really down to earth. And I think that's one of the things that like stands out to me about it is just you're a knight. You have privilege, but you also have responsibilities. And the world isn't really in the best shape right now, but you can be part of the force that's trying to make it better. So, uh, I've talked to one other person about this game, and they were telling me about how they played it, and they used to be the percentile instead of D20. Also, their campaign apparently towards the end of their sessions, when they were like winding, starting to get done with playing the game overall, everyone had built up a hate of Merlin because apparently had just caused trouble for them or something. Yeah. Pendragon, it is a very recent reprint. This is sixth edition. Um, Maybe you enjoyed an earlier edition of the game. I'm curious to hear more. I'm definitely going to pick up more stuff for this game because I like it, and I hope other people like it too. All right, thanks for watching. This has been Pillar Nexus. I'll see you next time.